Hello, everybody. Welcome back to 366 Days of Hope. My name is Pearl, and I'm here to share our next video, prayer and fasting. So actually, I'm going to be doing a prayer and fast for the next 6 days. And one of the reasons why I've decided to do it is for multiple reasons. And I know oftentimes people associate fasting as, oh, that's religious. I don't do things like that. But believe it or not, fasting has more than just, a religious effect. In fact, fasting has 4 pillars that it touches on, which I talk about with this whole 366 days of hope: mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual. All these 4 factors are interconnected with each other, and we can't really separate it when it comes to total wholeness. Everything gets affected. So, like when you're dealing with emotional trauma, well, that's going to affect us physically and spiritually. It's going to affect us mentally, because if you're under duress, you're under stress, you have a lot of cortisol, that's going to affect your mental state of mind. You will go into having more anxiety. You can fall into depression. So as you can see, all of these things wrap themselves together, and so it's very hard to kind of like peel it apart. And when it comes to fasting, it really triggers a lot of physical things that happen to our body. So one of the things that gets created is the brain-derived neurotrophic factor. And so what that does is just it reconnects like all that clarity in our brain. It helps us to flush out toxins out of our body. It reduces inflammation when we fast. And so therefore that has a domino effect into other aspects of our life. So when you think about it, if you're under, stress, well, that's going to affect, like we said, your brain, right? Your mental clarity. You could start having like brain fog because you're under stress. But when you fast, you're also cleaning out your gut. And remember, your gut is the center of your entire immune system. And so when you end up fasting, you give your digestive system time to rest. And it's important to know that there are different ways in which people can fast. It's not just, oh, I'm going to abstain from like one thing and that's me fasting. No, there's a fasting, people have talked about like intermittent fasting, right? And there's 24-hour fasts. There are 16-hour fasts. These different type of fasting per se really do jumpstart your body physically and cellularly. And so that's why physically, when we kind of deal with the physical, it's going to domino effect into the emotional, mental, and spiritual. And coming into like that emotional part of things, when you're dealing with like emotional traumas that you're experiencing, if you're fasting, it actually helps reduce a lot of stress. And when you're reducing that stress, your brain is able to connect a little bit more to the emotional and allow you to process what has been going on, how you're emotionally feeling. And sometimes for us ladies, those can feel so overwhelming of an emotion. And sometimes we need to, instead of grabbing food to emotionally take away, sometimes just fasting away from food and not, allowing our emotions to dictate when we eat or how much we eat. Fasting will enable us to have a little bit more self-control, which is kind of the emotional issues we might be going through, is because the world is out of control and we want to have control. And so we might use food as a means of controlling what we can't control, which might be our environment. So fasting will actually allow you to have better control of the situation, because you're denying of yourself from harming your body even more. And then that goes into the spiritual realm, because when you're denying yourself, you have better cognitive function, so you have clarity, and oftentimes this allows for a better connection with, God. And so God taught, like, from my understanding of what I've personally researched, it's that when we have our frontal lobe functioning and there's nothing hampering or impeding that, then it's so much easier for us to connect with God. We have a deeper conversation with Him. We have a deeper relationship that we're developing because we can focus. But if all our mind is wrapped up with our problems, issues, or maybe even just physical pain because we're dealing with like high inflammation, but when we fast, it helps reduce that, we're able to focus a little bit better because there's not as many distractions. So as you can see, prayer and fasting does not have just a religious benefit to it, but it actually has a much more wide and interconnected aspect to it. And so I just wanted to throw that out there. And for those of you that are thinking, oh, well, I'm interested in, trying out a fast, like what do you do? So one of the things that I personally do, I fast by doing what's called the Daniel fast. It's fruits, vegetables, nuts, and limiting salt, because salt's actually really important. You still need to have some salt in your diet to help absorb the water into your cells. So just making sure we're not eliminating salt completely. However, lowering the content is good, because what it also will do is it will change your taste bud. And so it takes 7 days for your taste bud to change. Now you could do, like I said, I'm doing mine for 6 days, but you could do 7 or longer to change your taste buds. And what this will do is, if you're struggling with, like, you have the chips that you really love to eat, but you can't seem to control yourself because you're like just eating the whole thing. Well, when you end up fasting, what that will do is it will reset your palate. And it's almost like it's like Monopoly. You go all the way to start and you can get, I guess, those benefits again. So in a sense, your body kind of restarts itself and it says, hey, those chips that you used to like and be able to eat a ton of, well, your tongue can't handle it anymore. And maybe your tongue will be like, whoa, that's too salty now. Like, I can only eat like 1 chip. And for me, like, I used to be really big on eating nachos, like the nacho chips or the tortilla chips. But I found that I don't eat as many and I don't crave them as much. I used to be able to eat like a ton, and I find that I don't like need it as much. So that's another thing that happens to you when you fast, which might be great for those that are wanting to, lose weight and wanting to change their diet, and they want to have the inclination towards healthier food, but because their taste buds are so salty, so oily, so sugary, fasting will actually help reset that, so that way your body and your brain work together to say, hey, nope, I don't crave those things anymore, or I have a less tendency to crave those things. So that is how fasting and prayer actually benefit the body. And like I said, it is more than just religious. It has a lot of other benefits. So I hope that encourages you to consider that. I am going to post for the next few days just some recipes that I think may be beneficial for those of you that kind of want a low sodium and a much more nutrient dense meal with it, where you're helping your body heal a little bit through it. So with that said, may you live, thrive, and be healthy. You guys take care. Bye.